Hello and welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. We've entered Women's Month, and Monday, March 8th is Women's Day, the International Women's Day, a Civil Awareness Day, a Women and Girls Day, and Anti-Sexism Day and Anti-Discrimination Day. It's a day to celebrate women's achievements, raise awareness against bias, and take action for equality. This year's theme is Choose to Challenge. We'll be telling you about it in just a minute. And incidentally, this week's guest is a woman. Our exclusive interview with the U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, on U.S.-Africa policy as concerns the coronavirus, immigration, and the ambassador's projects in the country. It's an interview you don't want to miss. But let's take a quick check now on other discussions in diplomatic circles, and we'll be right back.
The United States Consulate General in Lagos has unveiled its newly expanded and renovated consular pavilion that seeks to improve the experience that visa applicants and American citizens in Nigeria receive.
1, 2, 3, it is open!
At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Consul General Claire Perangelo noted that the renovated consular pavilion will provide a new safe space for visa applicants to socially distance while waiting for their appointment. She also said the consulate is working hard to reschedule the visa applicants that were affected by the pandemic.
On a normal day before COVID, we would welcome 1,000 people to our consular section through this pavilion. Unfortunately, with COVID, that's been greatly reduced, but we hope over the next few months to be able to gradually increase our customer access to the consulate, both for visas and for American citizen services. And most importantly, we wanted to create a space that was safe for our visitors to come, where you could be socially distanced in the fresh air, where we have hand sanitizer and restroom facilities available.
This pandemic has shown us.
Britain's Prince Charles has paid tribute to the courage shown throughout the Commonwealth in response to the coronavirus pandemic. He spoke about the impact of COVID-19 in a message recorded in Westminster Abbey for a program marking Commonwealth Day, dedicated to countries mainly from the former British Empire that maintain links with Britain.
On Commonwealth Day, I am reminded once again that the essence of the Commonwealth is its remarkable diversity. As we recover from everything that we have endured and continue to endure through this pandemic, we have an unprecedented opportunity to change course. By harnessing the extraordinary potential of our Commonwealth family, we are uniquely placed to lead the way. So let us be the boldest of the bold, and let us offer an example to the world.
Pope Francis made history over the weekend, becoming the first pope to visit Iraq. He visited parts of the northern part of the country that were held by Islamic State militants, praying among ruined churches in Mosul, the former stronghold, before meeting Christians in Karakosh. Celebrating Mass at a stadium in Erbil, the last big piece of his visit, he said Iraq still remains in his heart. Thousands of people attended his service, defying COVID-19 concerns. While in Baghdad on Friday, Pope Francis called for an end to violence and extremism and said Iraq's dwindling Christian community should have more prominent roles as citizens with full rights, freedoms, and responsibilities.
Choose to Challenge is the conversation starter for International Women's Day this year. And women and men are raising their hands all over the world to support this year's theme. What this means is that we can all choose to challenge and call out gender bias and inequality. We can also choose to seek out and celebrate women's achievements and collectively help create an inclusive world.
Morning. Morning. How are you all?
When Nigeria's former finance minister, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, made the decision to run for the post of Director General of the World Trade Organization, she became the face of defiance in a world dominated by patriarchy, favoritism by certain countries, and a shining example of perseverance. It was not the first time she was running for international office. A few years before, she was candidate for president of the World Bank, running against Jim Yong Kim. If elected, she would have become the organization's first female president. Now, women all over the world, including men, celebrate her success as the World Trade Organization's first female director general. For decades, women have been breaking and trying to break glass ceilings. Not too long ago, the United States of America welcomed its first female vice president in the person of Kamala Harris. It is the highest office occupied by a woman in the country's 243-year history. Meanwhile, some of America's closest allies, such as the UK, Germany, even New Zealand, have already had women leading countries. In the persons of Margaret Thatcher and Theresa May as Prime Ministers of Britain, Angela Merkel as German Chancellor, and Jacinda Ardern as Prime Minister of New Zealand. In South America, women have become presidents of Argentina, Chile, Brazil, and Costa Rica. In the persons of Cristina Fernández de Kirchner of Argentina, Michelle Bachelet of Chile, Laura Chinchilla of Costa Rica, and Dilma Rousseff of Brazil. And in Africa, we talk about the likes of Joyce Banda of Malawi and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia. The symbolism of a woman in command is powerful, but has come with challenge beyond the already heavy burden of leading the country. In today's world, women have been at the front line fighting COVID-19 alongside their male counterparts, taking on the same amount of burden or even more as they still try to pay attention to families. It's been hard.
I'll never forget things I've seen and the things I've done. Never.
Put that back over your...
This year's celebration is being done virtually and individually, though attempts to hold a women's march in some countries have been denied. For instance, in Mexico, the government has installed barriers across Mexico City's emblematic buildings and monuments to prevent a planned women's march. China, on the other hand, extended festive greetings and best wishes to the country's women of all ethnic groups and all walks of life. President Xi Jinping says the vast majority of women actively devoted themselves to the cause of socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era. They would not be left behind by men and have held up half the sky with their unshakable pride and hard work, he says, especially on the front of achieving the goal of finishing building a moderately prosperous society in all respects, eradicating poverty and fighting the COVID-19 pandemic.
My hope for women this year is that we break more barriers in the fields of science and technology, so we encourage the younger generation of women to consider a career in this fast-growing but very male-dominated industry.
And my hope for women and non-binary folks in 2021 is to try something that scares you, something that you've been told that you can't or shouldn't do.
And from around the world for this year's International Women's Day, women express their hope and prayers for an ever-changing world. Mary Beth Leonard is the current U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, assuming office on December 24, 2019. She has been 33 years in the U.S. State Department. She served as Economic and Consular Officer in Yaoundé, Cameroon, Windhoek, Namibia, and Lomé, Togo. She's also served as Deputy Chief Mission in Bamako, Mali, and Ambassador to the Republic of Mali. She served as the Director for West African Affairs at the U.S. Department of State, was appointed representative of the United States of America to the African Union by former President Barack Obama, and was appointed U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria on August 1, 2019, presented her credentials to President Muhammadu Buhari on December 24, 2019. And in my interview with her, she talks about her perception of the country and her work in the country during the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigeria-U.S. relations and immigration under the new U.S. administration of President Joe Biden. Ambassador Leonard, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you here. And I understand you've been in the country for more than 6 months now. Even though many Nigerians haven't seen you, really out there, but you have been around, you have gone around the country as much as you can, despite the restrictions and so on. How are you finding your stay so far in Nigeria?
I love Nigeria. I think it's a fabulous place. You know, if you're Mary Beth Leonard and you've done your entire diplomatic career in Africa, the idea that by the third time you get to be an ambassador, you get to come to Nigeria, the really big giant on the continent, is just so exciting. You know, you just can't overstate how important Nigeria is in terms of the size of its economy and its population and its dynamism and its regional role. I wish by now I had seen more of Nigeria instead of the walls inside my house, however charming those walls might be.
True.
So I think in the coming months we'll be able to do, I'm looking forward to being able to travel more across the country. So far I've been to Lagos a few times, and before the pandemic really broke out, I was in Kaduna. I think if it had not been pandemic times, I probably would have been to 10 states in Nigeria by now.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to getting out and meeting people, seeing different places.
But interestingly enough, your appointment, as you said, came during the time of the pandemic. So how would you then describe, you know, the information sharing between Nigeria and the U.S., knowing how rapidly this coronavirus, it's changing? And you have different mutations, you know, of the virus now, and various variants of the virus. How do you see Nigeria and the U.S. working, you know, side by side, trying to help people understand what's going on?
Well, you used the right words. The Nigeria and the United States have been working side by side on COVID-19 from the very early days of this pandemic. And that was actually based on an incredibly long and robust cooperation in health between the United States and Nigeria. We are the leading provider of medical care for HIV/AIDS patients under the PEPFAR program. We were really stuck into the polio vaccinations. We have long been a force for health in Nigeria. And many of those same investments we were able to help Nigeria build on in terms of the logistics of moving samples from place to place, building on the backbone of the laboratories that we had helped establish with the President's Program for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR. In fact, there were probably 62 or 63 people from my embassy, people who work for USAID, for the Centers for Disease Control, and for the Walter Reed Army Institute for Research, who were working alongside their colleagues in the Ministry of Health at the Presidential Task Force in various laboratories to think about how to address the testing aspect of the pandemic as we were in that phase. And now that we're moving towards the vaccination phase, with the happy arrival of vaccines into Nigeria for the first time, we'll be looking at the logistics and constraints and opportunities and how it is that you make the vaccine available. So we've spent so far some $72 million on that effort. I would say that the biggest news on U.S. efforts against COVID-19 is the new Biden administration's emphasis on re-entering the multilateral arena to be really a leader and a catalyst in global health. Certainly, we were very active through all the activities that I described to you over the first 14 months. The difference now is, I think, the renewed commitment to multilateralism. You saw that on the first or the second day of his administration, President Biden had the United States rejoin the World Health Organization. And we have committed not only to the logistics of the response, but to contributing quite a large sum of money to making sure that vaccines can make it to every corner of the world.
Yeah, and speaking of vaccines, we've heard some other world leaders talk about developed countries contributing to vaccines in poorer countries, and they're saying that many developed countries acquired more vaccines than they needed, and the rest of it should be given to poorer countries. Does the U.S. think so?
Yeah, so I think the question is, while there may be individual countries that have gotten more vaccine than they currently need, the larger story is of the need for the vaccine outstripping the supply that is coming online. Certainly there are new vaccines being discovered, and that is increasing the availability. The question is, as I said before, for the Biden administration, is how do you get that vaccine to every corner of the earth that needs it? One of the answers to that is the United States' $4 billion contribution to COVAX, the Global Alliance for Vaccine Initiatives, mechanism for distributing vaccine around the world. So what we've done with that $4 billion that was appropriated, or what we are doing with that $4 billion that was appropriated by the U.S. Congress in December,
is to decide to give $2 billion of that immediately and then hold off additional tranches of it until we see other partners step up with more financial resources to support the amount of money that it's going to take to get vaccine everywhere.
What can Nigeria expect under the Biden administration?
So I hope that you noticed that one of the first speeches that President Biden made early in his administration was to the African Union Summit in February, where he talked about a renewed spirit of partnership and engagement. And I think the idea is looking towards the strengths and the opportunities and the optimism in order to engage in really robust partnerships. You've seen a very early recommitment to multilateralism, not only through rejoining the WHO, but through U.S. support for the Nigerian candidate for the World Trade Organization. And I think that this is an administration that doesn't necessarily think that multilateral institutions are perfect, but believe, and indeed some of them are not, but believes that it's important to be a part of that conversation and a part of those institutions in order to bring about those reforms to the goals that we all have, which is for a safe, secure, prosperous, healthy world. So I think that's a lot of what you can expect to see in the coming weeks and months. And I think that makes for a really good moment for Nigeria too. When you think about how many prominent Nigerians are in important positions in international organizations, right? The Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, the head of the World Trade Organization, the AU's permanent representative in New York, who sort of works to marshal Africa Voices there, is also a Nigerian, as is the president of the African Development Bank. And who am I missing? I am missing...
There have also been some Nigerian people of Nigerian descent in the Biden administration.
And in the Deputy Secretary for the Treasury, you know, they're everywhere. So I think at a moment where the United States is really looking towards a renewed multilateralism, the fact that there are so many prominent Nigerians in these roles is really important. I know, I cannot believe that the one I forgot. Oh my goodness, I was the ambassador to the African Union. This man was my neighbor in Addis Ababa, is the new Political and Peace and Security Affairs Commissioner at the African Union. So you've got a really formidable array of talent in key security and economic international institutions to help be a partner with the United States as it goes towards that new spirit of multilateralism.
What about from the coronavirus? We have seen President Joe Biden talk a lot about immigration. He signed a few executive orders on the first day of his administration, and immigration is really important to Nigeria, considering the Trump administration also focused on immigration. We know how important that is to America. Where is Nigeria then in America's foreign policy on immigration?
On immigration. Well, you're correct that the new president made a couple of decisions on immigration in the very first days, notably to reverse bans on certain kinds of immigration, among which Nigeria had fallen on the immigrant visa front. So that has been reversed, and Nigerians are again eligible for all categories of immigrant visas. That it's very important for Nigeria. The most significant Nigerian diaspora population in the world is in the United States. They are also among the best educated immigrants in the United States. It's a really powerful and significant community. So we're very glad to see, you know, that reversal, as I suppose I really hope that Nigeria is too. The premise of the visa bans, or that whole exercise in the beginning, was about asking Nigeria to make certain reforms in information sharing and identity management. And I really have to salute the efforts of the Nigerian government, which were Herculean, in making it easier to convey information to places like Interpol, and being ever better able to have faith in the reliability of the underlying data. Nigeria did a fabulous job in answering that, and their efforts make all of us safer, and I really have to salute their efforts.
I'd say thank you on behalf of the government. Moving on, of course, you mentioned visas for Nigerians, and visa appointments have been quite hard to come by thanks to the pandemic.
Yes, indeed.
And you know, as the world opens up, more people want to travel.
Exactly.
A lot of people are thinking of going to the United States again. So where's the commission, where's the embassy on visa appointments? Because there's a huge backlog.
Yeah, and it's a frightening backlog in the sense that now we have to figure out how to address it. And you know, the problem is that while, you know, we have progress in our understanding how to manage the pandemic, Part of the equation there, of course, is limiting physical contact. So the challenge for us is not only how to catch up on the visitors visas and the immigrant visas that we were unable to do during a lot of the shutdown period, but also how to figure out the safest way to move as many people as we possibly can through the consular process, whether it be at the consulate here in Lagos or at the embassy in Abuja. The brutal fact of the matter is that it will probably be hard for a little while to fit all that in, given the constraints and the fact that we need to keep both our applicants and us healthy. But so far, we're working on immigrant visas. We're also doing student visas, which is hugely important. Nigeria sends more students to the United States than any other country in Africa. Nearly 14,000 study there. So we're doing student visa appointments, we're doing exchange visitors, and a limited number of business and tourist visas. There is a mechanism on our website where if you have an emergency need to travel, you can signal that so that we can try to get people in. The idea is to certainly plan very far in advance and understand that with all the goodwill in the world and everything that we're doing to try to figure out how to move as many people as we can through the process safely, there will in the short term be some limits on the numbers of people that we can accommodate.
Just a little bit more on immigration. The U.S. president also, signed an executive order, I think, concerning immigration still, and I think this had to do with people coming into the country before January 1st, 2021. The process to citizenship, I believe it was. Yes, and he shortened the period of time, I think, from 7 to 5 years, but the condition was that you had to have been in the country before January 1st, 2021. How will that affect Nigerians who are already in the process of getting their citizenship or those who want to go about it?
There is a commitment in the Biden administration to realize that immigration is a source of strength. And that you will see a number of policies being revealed over the coming days and weeks and months in order to facilitate that. Again, you don't get the most significant diaspora in the world without there being a wonderful population to take up on that.
The United States recently announced a foreign language teaching assistant program. Many Nigerians were excited about that because to them this is their ticket to the United States. But explain again to the people what this is about.
So what this is about is a 9-month training course in the United States for Yoruba and Hausa speakers to learn to be teachers of a foreign language. This is something that is the choice of the languages and the will to have this sort of program stems from requests by U.S. universities who are looking for this talent and find it not readily available. And so if you look on the embassy's website, you can find out all about this and other exchange programs that we have available, including Fulbrights and Young African Leaders. But I think it's a really exciting opportunity. So it's a way to get more people prepared to answer that demand in the United States.
Talk to us about the U.S. Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation and what examples of the kinds of projects the Ambassador's Fund will be supporting.
The Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation is this fabulous program where we're able to give small grants that bring together host country participants and U.S. institutions to preserve some cool cultural thing, historic cultural thing in your country. So we have, for example, in 2020, we gave a $400,000 grant, largest ever grant under that program in sub-Saharan Africa.
That's huge.
To preserve 14th century earthworks. We've done previous grants to preserve rock art. It's just really fabulous, and it's a great thing as an American diplomat to sort of go and learn about your country and find something that you think is engaging and just so worthy of preservation, but needs some resources and perhaps a link with the ability to create a linkage with someone in the United States who has a similar interest.
14 months in Nigeria, you must have picked up either a few phrases or a few favorites when it comes to food.
One of my favorites is no shaking, no wahala. I like that a lot. And in food, of course, I've been in West Africa for a very, very long time, and so jollof rice is great fun, and also even among American ambassadors in the region is a subject of competition. Who's got the best one.
No contest.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a real fondness for really spicy foods. So I'm a big pepper soup fan.
Right. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Ambassador Leonard. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoy your stay in Nigeria.
Thank you.
This is where we end the program. Thanks again for watching. And remember, you can send us your questions and comments using any of the addresses showing on your screen. I'm Amarachi Ubani. I'll see you next time.